Ever since the coronavirus pandemic struck across the world, there's been a huge interest in the pharmaceutical companies that were in the race to develop a vaccine to combat this menace. We saw a number of international companies get into the research and development mode, and few Indian companies too starting up the activities. Today, India technically has two vaccines, one, of course, in collaboration with an international major, another developed in-house by Bharat Biotech with the ICMR. But pharma is far beyond all this. And Hyderabad, to be specific, has an entire ecosystem that helps develop molecules that finally move from the lab to the market. Today, to discuss this and more, we have with us Shri Ram Isanaka, Chairman and Managing Director, Issar Pharma, a gentleman who has seen it all. Having worked all his life in the United States, Shri Ram moved into India to set up what was then called the Shanta Biotechnique. He later exited the company at a certain stage and today runs a company that specifically uses peptides into research to create products for the international markets across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a small conversation that we are having with Sir Ram Isanaka today. Thank you for joining us. Sir Ram Isanaka, can you take us through your journey of your life, right from the time that you reached US, came back to India, went back to US again, and again came back to India? Can you take us through the entire gamut of this journey?
I graduated in 1968. Then I moved to US in 1970. 1970, even till today, I am a US person. And I moved to India in 2016 to mainly concentrate on my business. Prior to starting my current business, which is a Issar Pharmaceutical, which was set up in 1995. Prior to that, I was involved with Shanta Biotech, promoter, director, and raised the money necessary, technical support from US, being in the US, and it was a very successful company. And it made a lot of contribution to India in 80s and 90s. While I was still with the Shanta Biotech, I started another new technology based on the drug development, peptide-based drug development. And it was new not only to India at the time, but also in the West. And it's almost 25 years now since I started this company. And to our credit, we have several new chemical entities, NCAs. And we don't think any other company in India has any new chemical entities, leave alone peptides in any other products. And to have it, not only we have a new chemical entities, we have done several clinical trials in this country. We have one product that is already in the market, launched in 2004 for the treatment of vitiligo. Then we already have a molecule ready for marketing for the treatment of burn wound. And we also have done phase 1 trials for a cancer drug. All these things are unheard of, and I don't think that many people knows also what we have accomplished. We have licensed one molecule to an American company, and it was a very surprising to US regulators, US FDA, that India was able to develop a new chemical entity for the treatment of burn wound that America doesn't have it even today. And we are fortunate to have a face-to-face meeting with US FDA regulators, and they have given us the minutes asking us to develop the molecule for US market. I licensed this molecule to an American company. Similar to that, we have several new chemical entities that are cutting edge, but we are looking for a marketing partner or developing this molecule to multinationals. That's what we have been doing, and we continue to do it. We have several molecules, not only for psoriasis, sepsis, even for COVID. So we need a lot of resources to do it. We, being a small company, we will not be able to do, any of these molecules on our own.
Mr. Ram, the next question would be about India's competitors. Because often we were known as the copycats of the world. We would take a particular drug that was available and change the route of making it. We were into APIs at one time, that now has gone to China. But now the Indian drug industry, the Indian pharma industry has matured and is now into molecule discovery, trying to make more medicines on their own, and of course, trying to tap the international markets to do it. We've seen that happening during this COVID times also, where we have a homemade COVID vaccine, which is now trying to reach out to the international markets. What, according to you, is the reason for this change of attitude in the Indian pharma companies?
So, see, the new drug development takes a long time. As per the US estimates, it costs to develop a new drug $1.6 billion in 10 years. And it's not that easy to develop a new drug. Probably 20 to 30% is the success rate. Look at how many companies are trying for psoriasis. And a lot of companies already failed. As of today, there are about 50 to 60 companies registered to develop a new drug for psoriasis. There's no drug for psoriasis, only the management of the disease. And the market is $25 billion. That's the reason why so many companies are developing. We have a molecule with a different mechanism of action. I'm also looking to develop the molecule, but we don't have the resources. We are looking for somebody to license this molecule too. Similarly, we have other molecules that are cutting edge molecules. So if we are lucky to find somebody, either we want to co-develop it or license the molecule to them. Most of our Indian companies are mainly targeting the existing molecules, generic drugs, because they can be in the market within a year or two. And the success rate is much higher. Whereas a new chemical entity, probably if you are lucky, if we have 10-20% success rate. And all the developmental work that we have done so far in the past 25 years, we never had a single failure. We have, to our credit, we have about 70 molecules. And some of them, we are trying to develop these things. So this is why most of Indian companies want to show their revenue quarter after quarter, because of the financial reasons. And only person that was concentrating in a new drug development was Dr. Anjireddy. Unfortunately, he developed, but he could not continue developing the new molecules. So it's not easy, but there are some companies like Sun Pharma, Galderma, they are also developed a new drug for psoriasis. And very few in India are interested in developing the new molecules because it takes a lot longer, the risk is very high, and the success rate is very low. These are the reasons none of our Indian companies are concentrating on developing the new molecules. Even if you give it to them, they are not willing to take the risk of developing it. And that is the Indian pharma scenario.
Quite often, Mr. Ram, you must have seen during your professional career, the kind of size we are talking of the Indian pharma industry, we are way behind the international majors, take the Pfizers and others of the world. But there comes a time when we have been seeing many Indian pharma companies being bought out by the international majors. Do you think the Indian pharma industry has the staying power, or do you think eventually we will see the Indian pharma companies selling out one by one, or do you think there will be joint ventures that we're going to see as a route forward?
Indian pharma is capable of doing it, but there is no mindset. They're all looking for quarter-to-quarter profits and to keep their stock market, keeping stock market in mind. But they are capable. If a small company like us able to do it, big companies in India, they will be able to do very easily. It's not a problem. But the mindset is not there. And it doesn't take that much money. 25 to 30 crores a year you set aside for a development of a one molecule, and you could do it. I have several of them, if somebody is interested. We are also talking to a lot of international players. And the only thing is, how do you penetrate? How do you get to them? And it's always difficult to expose yourself to that level. And we are trying. One company, multinational, because our molecule, they are filing with US FDA and they are going to commercialize it in USA. And they're also interested in other molecules. And it's only the beginning. And we are trying to see other possibilities also with other major pharma companies.
I'm wording it differently. Do you think the time has come for the Indian pharma companies to look at ways to grow in sheer scale and size? Because bringing a molecule to the market is not a small game. It requires billions of dollars of investment, time and money, and sometimes the risk of failure, quite often the risk of failure. So we have now the capacity to invite the international majors, international pharma majors, to come and look at investing in Indian pharma companies so that we can achieve those size and scale we are looking for.
There are already things are happening to that effect. Multinationals are coming and buying a 50% stake in the company. They look at the opportunities, and they are doing it already. Only it's a question of time because of the power of the dollar, and they could offer any good price and buy any company.
Today, generics are a big business for Indian pharma companies, especially in the European markets and in US. But I'm sure you must be reading a roadmap ahead of time that we will see generics being slowly shifted out to countries like China and maybe even Vietnam and others. And there will come a time, maybe a decade from now or more than that, when generics will cease to be the business of the future. Do you think such a time that Indian pharma companies now need to invest their time and money into developing original molecules so that they can leverage the strength that they have, the inherent strength that the Indian pharma industry has?
They themselves, raising the money, that kind of money is difficult. But any company keeping that in mind in the future is the new drug development is the only one. Generics are not going to survive after 10 years. If we are able to make generic drugs, why can't China, where they are the one who's supplying API to us now, why can't they develop it? Why not Vietnam? Why not other countries? Then what happens to India at that time? Our people have to wake up to the reality that we start developing the new molecules, spend enough money in R&D, and our people are capable of doing it, our scientists. But only thing is they have to have a willpower and concentration. This is the money that we are going to set aside. We want to develop a new molecule. It could be done. It's not a big deal.
Mr. Ram, quite often you have spoken passionately about peptides. And for a layman like me, to understand what peptides is all about, must be Greek and Latin. But I'm sure you have an explanation for why peptides, and can you let us know how does it all work out for a company like yours to be in this business of making use of peptides as a basic research tool?
From the beginning, I always wanted to be do something that's different and not follow everybody else. Even after started our business, Issar Pharma, for peptide business, a lot of offers came in, and why don't we do generics? Quickly you can make money. That we never wavered since 1995, and we are still doing the peptides. And we have several patents, US patents, European patents for our molecules. And it takes a lot of time and effort. So we are different than most of the pharma companies in India. So even if you are generic, we make a lot of money. That's the bottom line. If I were to go in that route, I would have gone, 20 years ago. So, but we decided to stay in a business that is unique, different, and the future of pharma. The peptides are made up of amino acids. Amino acids are in our body. Any product that is made up of a peptide, the body usually accepts it. There is no rejection, very rarely, and side effects are very, very limited. That is the beauty of a peptide. And the peptide can be re-engineered, redesigned, and you need a lot of technical knowledge to do those things. But the future is the peptides. And insulin is a peptide, and some of the cancer drugs, leuprolide and other things are for cancer treatment. Even when we give injection for the delivery time, that's also a peptide. So there are lots of peptides already there. But the thing is a fear of unknown. How do we start? Where do we start? And that's what the problem is for the industry.
India is today a land of entrepreneurs. Of course, we have the Zomatos of the world, we have the Flipkarts of the world, all of whom are now turning unicorns and even going to the stock market and cashing the value. But very few in the pharma industry have seen startups coming this way. Do you think the time has now come for the Indian entrepreneurs, especially the young, to look at pharma as a starting base for their dreams? Because other spaces are getting crowded. So the only way that startups can grow, the new startups can grow, is to look at Indian pharma industry. So what's your opinion on this, sir?
Not to follow the same people that they are into generics and they are looking for the quarter after quarter revenue. Look at the technology, IT side, and our people have started several new technologies, and they're highly successful. And similarly, in the pharma side also, people have to look at the new technology and not the generic drugs. Generic is not the answer. It may be the answer for the next 10, 15 years. Afterwards, it's going to be a difficult situation. People have to wake up to the reality. So if we can do it, there are lots of other countries who they can do it also. It's only a question of time. So the new generation, people are looking at it not to follow the people who are already into this business. Try to find something that's a unique, different, and it's going to create a value to the society and the country.
The Indian IT sector is known for its services and innovation. Quite often we have seen that. But what about the pharma sector? True, we have the scientists who kind of develop great products, great molecules. But the education system in India is skewed more towards the IT side, the engineering side. Do you think the time has come for institutions like the Indian Institute of Technology to kind of come into this field, to work more here and produce pharmaceutical businesses, if you can name it that way, get more talent who can actually leverage the strength they have inherent in our Indian science ecosystem? And especially places like Genome Valley in Hyderabad, where you see a lot of the international and Indian companies developing new pharma products. Do you think our education system needs a rethink in terms of what the pharma industry needs?
Yes, there are a few institutions similar to that. Only thing is a major IITs, Indian Institute of Technologies. They are the one who can do this type of work. The remaining, there's no caliber in the universities or in the students. And like peptides, there is not a college that is teaching in, for example, in Hyderabad. It's a chemistry, then it yields into peptide technology. But there's no specific curriculum in the peptides. How to design, why it works, how do you make it a molecule. None of those things are taught. Not even there are not that many teachers also. So IITs are the only hope that they can come up with this type of programs and develop a new molecules. Mainly just like what they're doing in IT industry now. They are the brilliant people. They are creating every day new IPO. So the same thing they can do in a pharma too. So only thing is they have to have willpower.
And of course, I need to ask you this question, Mr. Isanaka, because your baby, Issar Pharma, where does it go from here? What is the roadmap that you have dreamed up, that you're laying ahead for this company? Maybe 2, 4 or 5 years, or even maybe a decade. What's the roadmap looking like?
We have developed several molecules. We have about 70 of them. And we have initially started with the psoriasis treatment, fairly successful. We have done now cancer molecule, and it's in the cold storage now. And we have bound wound molecule successfully done. I have several big molecules, one for psoriasis, one for sepsis, even for COVID treatment. This is very, very difficult, and it requires a lot of money. We cannot afford, we don't have the resources to go after all these molecules. We can only take one of them and try to see how we can make a difference in India, competing with the rest of the world. So that's what we wanted to plan in the next few years.
It's great to have lifestyle diseases. We have the diabetes and others where a huge amount of money is being spent in kind of managing those lifestyle diseases. But India is a country where a lot of poor don't have access to either the healthcare or the medicines. Do you think the time has now come for India to lead the way in developing life-saving vaccines, life-saving drugs and formulations? Do you think that is something that India is good at, so that we can actually be the leader in this segment going forward?
Yes, it's a wake-up call. Now everybody is developing the vaccines, including the Chinese. They were not bothered before, and we are the biggest vaccine manufacturers, and the Serum Institute is one of the biggest. And now everybody will be concentrating on the vaccines and see not only for COVID and other diseases. And this is how the industry is going to start, to revolutionize. And everybody is going to spend the money. They're already spending money. And there are other 2-3 companies that are already making vaccines now. Not only Serum and Bharat Biotech, there are other companies. Biological E is making it. Panacea Biotech is making. Other companies are also getting into this. And this is a good wake-up call for the industry.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an exhaustive conversation with Mr. Isanaka, founder and chairman of Issar Pharma, a Hyderabad-based pharma company that has made huge advances in the field of pharmaceuticals, peptides, beyond that, sepsis, psoriasis, and vitiligo, and lots more there. In this entire conversation that you saw, Mr. Isanaka tried to capture the essence of how the world of pharmaceuticals in India is going to be different in the years to come. Thank you for watching.